Hello people of the internet, this is the Geek Gaming Culture channel. Well, this past Saturday night, accomplished voiceover artist Cristina Vee was accused of being a Zionist after she was put on a list by another ex-user named Where Is My Cake of those that were proclaimed to be as such. Vee, who is best known for voicing Marinette in the hit show Miraculous Ladybug and has lent her voice to several other roles, such as Ray Hino in the Viz English dub of Sailor Moon, liked a social media post which the user said, quote, "Endlessly praying for Israel, my heart breaks." Now, I'm not going to come on here and pretend to know everything there is to know about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. I know it's something that has been going on for quite some time, and this is just the latest chapter in a conflict that has spanned decades. What I do know, however, is that civilian casualties should never be celebrated. I'm not suggesting that's what happened with that post, but like other wars, we should be hoping for a quick and painless resolution that results in few, if any, casualties. Also, please be advised I'm not coming into this rooting for any one political side to come out on top here. I'm not someone who has been cheering for any one side. I do recognize, however, that there are several people who have very strong feelings about the conflict, and I don't want to impose on those in any sort of way. But moving on, what happened was that the user Where Is My Cake put her on a list of an undisclosed number of those they considered Zionist, which is defined by AnneFrank.org as someone who advocates for an independent Jewish state where Jews can live in safety. This led a mob of those that believed that to go on a rampage against her, and as all social media mobs tend to do anymore, they tend to go way too far in how to answer that call. On Saturday night, Cristina left X posting the following quote, "Hey everybody, I really appreciate the people who researched the false rumors and misinformation that was going around. And I thank the original posters for retracting. However, reading posts telling me I should K-word myself, I'm a horrible person, etc., took a toll, and I've decided that it's time to permanently delete Twitter for my own mental health. I'm still happy to connect with everyone over on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks for all the fun and memes over the years. Love you all and wish you the best. Please don't go after the people who made posts. Everybody is feeling helpless and is trying to do what they feel is right. It is a tough time right now. Let's not spread any more negativity, please." Now, to the point of them apologizing, Where's Me Cake after this all went down said, quote, "Update, Cristina Vee is officially removed from the list, as she has heavily participated in Strike Week and has heavily shown her support for Palestine. I deeply apologize for the mistake I have made, and I wished I could have known sooner." Now, first thing is first. Though the apology was a start, and I believe that apology and whether someone means it should be judged by someone's actions going forward and whether they tried to the best of their ability to learn from them, the damage was already done, and the user had since privatized and then later deleted their account to the best of my knowledge. Now, for the record, there has been numerous bots that have populated several social media platforms that will advocate for a position and then disappear once found out, or government actors who do things like this in order to drum up support for a particular position. One thing that we have become aware of is something called the military-industrial complex, where manufacturers of military equipment and government officials work hand in hand with each other for financial purposes, which might be why you have seen the lack of a call for a ceasefire in many modern conflicts like the one being talked about here. But that can be a commentary all unto itself. The fact of the matter is this: it shouldn't matter what position Cristina Vee took here. She could have wanted a ceasefire where no casualties were found, or just wanted innocent people to survive. She could have seen something that we haven't seen. It shouldn't matter though, as what happened as a result should never be condoned ever. The act of sending people threats and requests to commit to harm of any kind is barbaric, and it's something that we need to get out of our political discourse. What it led to is the exodus of someone who is seen as a down-to-earth person who values their work and their humanity, and sought to do nothing but to entertain and do the thing that she loves. What happened to Vee could have happened to you or me, and unlike Cristina, we might not have the platform nor the standing to say anything in our defense. It could have been a lot worse for Vee. We've seen how easy it is for someone to be cancelled or ostracized or something similar. She could have been fired for voiceover work or someone with a terrible axe to grind could have found out where she was at any given time and did something extremely drastic. This does get extremely dangerous. This is why you see when some YouTube commentators talk about people who have done wrong to not harass the target. This is not just a CYA, though it is impossible to control or to predict the behavior of every last viewer of our content. We can mitigate the possibility of it happening to the best of our ability. I would hope my audience knows better than to do something like this. Debate is fine, and a call for someone to accept responsibility in a civil way is feasible. However, vitriolic comments and hate and what Cristina received is beyond the pale and highly uncalled for. However, though this is tragic to see, this is something that is sadly nothing new. One thing I would have to ask for one is who else was on this list? Who else is This Is Me cake feel the need to go after? How extensive was this list and how long was it? I would be quite interested because for one, it would show how far this actually went, and two, how easy it was to meet the imaginary criteria this person had for someone to even make the list. If all it took for someone to make it was to like a post, which, to me at least, seems tame in comparison to what we could have seen, then I can imagine how long this list was and how many got onto it and for why, provided it wasn't just an excuse to hate on a specific actress the person didn't like. That's a possibility too, and would be a shame if true. But that more leads to my point. Like I said, this is nothing new. We have become so tribal and so ready to hunker down to our teams that we refuse to look anywhere past our own biases and are ready to strike like a vulture to anyone that dares step out of line by even 1 millimeter. There is no room for nuances or even the slightest deviation from positions, and it's always the same recourse. Agree with the person 100% or face the consequences, usually getting put on a massive X block list that gets passed around of bad people, and then you get the mob coming after you and you never have a way to counter it or to have anybody come to your defense to try to stop it. Ever find out that you were blocked by someone you've never once knew existed, let alone have an interaction with on the platform? That's because you might have been put on a similar list without you even knowing that you did anything wrong, left wondering what even happened. And it would be one thing if it was about serious topics like conflicts and social justice matters, but we have become sensitive about every last thing anymore, and unwilling to listen to anyone about those things, and create constant straw man and misconstrue what someone actually said. There are no referees anymore in order to counteract these types of arguments. We tend to try to find this path to a way where we can make anything affect our worst sensibilities, using them as weapons to drown out viewpoints which might agree with us fundamentally, but don't agree about things like policy or few specifics. We cannot attach social politics to things like pineapple on pizza, for example. That hasn't happened yet, but I'm assuming at some point someone probably thought about it or is thinking about it. And you don't have to go any further the last year either. The most prominent situation, two VTubers, Civil Veil and Pygmy, were harassed in a similar way by a mob after they chose to play the game Hardwoods Legacy on their streams. They were being harassed to the point that the latter one chose to graduate the scene. The reason? We all know. The game was from the famed Harry Potter franchise, in which its creator has been known to say some pretty divisive things concerning social rights, which led to a boycott of the game which failed miserably. This led to some people, even though they said they were a part of the boycott, posting stories about how to hide your achievements for the game so no one would find out that you were playing it. So they still wanted to play it, but were worried about their peers finding out. Regardless of what you think about the creator and if you wanted to support the game that she had no involvement in or not, the fact of the matter is that Civil Veil and Pygmy did get harassed and bullied for doing so in the worst possible way, and should never be excused regardless of your position about the creator's viewpoints or the viewpoints of those who made the game. This is proof that this mentality that people who went out of lockstep by even 1 single millimeter is not exclusive to any one topic or any one side of a discussion. It also affects those that know that nuanced views about difficult topics can be attained. What does this lead to though? many times something worse than Cristina had to go through, and thankfully she, to the best of my knowledge, didn't have to go through things like doxing or even swatting for even less things. The latter has led to actual deaths because of police not thinking twice about if they were being duped before going in with guns blazing. Simply put, this is a microcosm of an epidemic that needs to stop. We will never always agree with one another. You might play a game you didn't approve of at first, or listen to a song you didn't necessarily get, or watch a movie or show you didn't approve of. I've seen some pretty far left people who enjoyed the show Yellowstone, for example. We might see something in an issue or have a perspective you didn't consider when making your position known. The issue with Vee, even when not being completely informed, could have been avoided if they did research to declaim, but also if they, instead of doing what mobs usually do, decide to be more civil and open up dialogue. Instead, this ended badly and could have ended a lot worse. But for this to end, for this mentality to end, it needs to start with those within these tribes. When is enough enough? If we are so quick to accuse, label, and to believe the worst out of one's position, especially within our peers, we're not only endangering people's well-being, but we're also devaluing our own positions because we're unwilling to accept the nuance of someone's position and are unwilling to even have our viewpoints be challenged in any sort of way, and prove that we are scared to have our viewpoints stand up to scrutiny. There could be more than two options available about an issue. We create a chilling effect, where people are just afraid to say what they believe because they believe their words will be twisted, make it sound like something else, and then they just are afraid to say anything at all, and we find out from other sources, and then they get misconstrued anyway. This is sadly something that's been happening for a little under a decade now, and it seems like until we find some way to curb this, it has no end in sight. Hopefully with this incident though, more attention is being paid to this kind of behavior. All political ideologies are guilty of this, and until we get a handle with things and stop being so tribal and so afraid that someone's views mean something different, Vee will only become another statistic instead of a difference maker. This is the Geek Gaming Culture channel, and that just happened.